everyone. Welcome to our live stream today talking about SEO research, keyword research. I am getting everything ready to go here, making sure everything is working, and I want to let everyone know if you are streaming on our landing page, if you go to the actual YouTube, if you go to YouTube, you'll be able to actually ask questions and kind of engage in the discussion there. So I'm making sure that I have everything ready to go and I can see the question and answer screen here. All right, welcome everybody. I'm excited to have this talk today. I think this is going to be an actual fun one, and the reason I think this one is going to be a lot of fun is because there's a lot of misinformation going around about keyword research, and marketers do this all the time. One of the ways that marketers get attention is, you challenge the status quo, and you see people doing this like on sports announcers, things like that. They're kind of notorious for doing the hot takes, and you get more attention if you do something that is absolutely against what everybody else thinks or believes. And so you see the same thing in marketing. When it comes to SEO and keyword research, what I have seen over the last several years is that people are constantly claiming, this is dead, that's dead, now you can't do this, and now you have to do it like this. And the reality of it is that SEO, by and large, has stayed the same for all the way back to the beginning of Google. Google has changed things a lot, and they put algorithms in that keep you from spamming the system, gaming the system. But the reality is that go all the way back to the very beginning, and what Google wants from the people that are creating websites is exactly the same. So it's not changing. If you're gaming the system and if you're trying gimmicks, then you're going to find yourself switching up tactics all the time, right? You're going to be doing this week, something else the next week, and then you're going to turn around in 5 weeks from now and you're getting a penalty because of something you did in week 2, and you're always going to be fighting that battle. But if you're doing what Google wants, it's a very consistent game. And if you do that over the long term, you'll be the one that's sitting there with a lot of traffic in the end, where everybody that's been jumping from gimmick to gimmick to gimmick is going to be wondering, well, what's working now? What's working now? What's working now? And that's why they go to marketing conferences. That's why they watch trainings like this, is because what they're doing just isn't working. And so I want to kind of cut through that at the very beginning, because I'm going to be talking about some very old school keyword research techniques here, and there's going to be this kind of cognitive dissonance that, well, hang on, it doesn't work like that anymore. Yes, it does. The way that you apply it once you get the keyword research done is a little bit different, but by and large it's all the same. So I'm gonna jump in real quick. I'm gonna send a message to the YouTube audience. Welcome everyone. And if you have questions, if you're watching on the actual YouTube, then you can communicate with me there, and I'll be able to see your questions as they come in. And at the end of this, we're going to have about a 15-minute session for Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can enter them in whenever, but just know that I'll probably be waiting until the end of this live stream to answer those questions. So let's kind of jump into this. The topic of discussion today is keyword research, the secret sauce behind free Google traffic. And with that being said, as always, there's really no such thing as free. We talk about organic being free simply because you're not paying for the traffic every month. It's different from paid traffic in that if I'm bringing traffic to my website through like Google AdWords or Facebook advertising, which what I'm going to be talking about today can absolutely be used for Google AdWords to buy traffic and find keywords to bid on that are not insanely expensive. But when you're talking about bringing free traffic to your website, you're really exchanging an investment of time in the beginning if you're going to build organic traffic, because you have to create an asset that's going to attract organic traffic. And you're either going to have to invest in creating it, or you're going to have to invest in buying traffic to come to your website. The great thing about doing keyword research and getting organic traffic from Google is that if you invest in creating a really great piece of content once, it can actually perform for months, years and years on end. And so you invest once and it brings an ongoing return. Whereas if you're buying traffic, you invest once, and once that investment is spent, it's over, right? So that's one of the reasons that in all of our strategies, we try to bring a very strong movement towards increasing organic traffic, because we know if we create like a blog post or a video or a piece of content that is SEO focused, that next year when we haven't worked on that piece of content for 12 months, it's still bringing traffic, right? And so if you do that over and over and over and over again for the long term, what you get is a compounding effect. The snowball gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's how you build massive website traffic that you don't have to keep paying for month after month after month. Does that make sense? If anybody is in the YouTube thing, can you type a message just to make sure that everybody can hear me, everything's going good? I want to make sure that that this stream is strong before I move on into the meat of keyword research. So I know Chris is on here somewhere. Chris, if you can jump into the YouTube thing and just leave a comment so that I know. I've got 2 likes. Nobody's leaving a comment. I'm going to go anyway because I know this. Everything looks good on my end. Nobody is commenting over there. So let's just jump into it then. Keyword research. The bottom line is keywords still matter. No matter what some gurus are saying, keywords still matter. And so that's the reason we're actually doing this training today. Hey, he said it's working great. Thanks, Chris. The reason we're doing this training today is that keywords still matter, and people are trying to downplay the role of keywords and keyword research in a lot of marketing today. But the truth is that keywords still matter. They matter for your content. They matter for every single page you create on your website. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later, how keyword matters to content. But right now, let's set kind of the groundwork, the ground rules of what we mean when we talk about keyword research and what we're looking for. So we're just going to jump right into it here. First, we need to identify some key definitions. So number one, you have sounds like a laptop microphone, not my main microphone. Let me change that here. Let me see if I can change this. Better audio? Is this better audio now? I think it was trying to grab audio from my camera instead of my microphone. So hopefully that's better. Coming from the USB mic. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. All right, we're going to continue on here. So there's key definitions. Number one, root keywords. Root keywords are keywords with high search volume, high competition that can be added to during a search. This is going to make sense a little bit more in a minute. But root keywords, for by and large, are kind of the center. You know, like a root keyword, you have prefixes and suffixes. It's the same with keywords. And then you have the long tails, which a long tail keyword is basically a root word with a prefix or a suffix added to it. Keywords with any volume, with lower competition, and that will normally be an entire search. And this will make sense in a second because I have some examples. Let's look at examples of root keywords. So root keywords would be things like shoes, tennis shoes, hiking boots, running shoes, dress shoes. When you look at the competition between these words, you're going to find that it's by and large the same. There's going to be really high volume, and there's going to be really high competition because now you're the people that want to own these keywords either through paid or through organic are going to be people like Amazon, going to be people like Walmart, Nike, just name it, Payless, all of them want to own these keywords. So there's a lot of competition with that. But then you've got everybody that owns an e-commerce store, everybody that's trying to, that's, just passionate about shoes and has a shoe blog, fashion blogs, fashion websites. Everybody is competing for these words. They'll have thousands and thousands. We'll actually show how much they have here in a minute. But these are root keywords, and more than likely, most people are not going to rank number 1, number 2, number 3 for these unless you're one of those big players, right? Or unless you want to pay for a spot at the top of search engines. So the important thing here is we have to find a keyword around this, especially if our business is around shoes. We need to find a way to bring traffic anyway without competing for these root keywords. And that's what brings us to the long tails. Now, a long tail can be the root keyword with, like I said, a prefix or a suffix added on. So you either add something to the front or you add something to the end, and it makes a long tail. For instance, you could say, instead of tennis shoes, you could say, I want black tennis shoes. Technically, that's a long tail because it has the prefix with it. But sometimes a long tail becomes a root keyword simply because it still can be added on to, and it's high competition, high volume. For instance, black tennis shoes could end up being black tennis shoes for women, or even a better one would be the best black tennis shoes for women. Or cheap black tennis shoes for women. You can keep adding words either on the front end or the back end to make a long tail that you can actually rank for. So here's some examples. Black tennis shoes for women, best walking tennis shoes for women, and doing keyword research allows you to find these long tails that you will then translate into content. We'll talk about that in a minute. But that's really what we're looking for. We're not looking for the root keywords. In the end, what we're looking for is long tails with enough volume to make it worth ranking for, that we can rank for with content, and then we take the keywords that we're finding in this search process, and we turn those into content that can rank for the views. So it's going to make sense in a minute. I'm actually going to walk you through the process from beginning to end of how we take how we discover long tail keywords, and then how we turn those long tail keywords into assets that will actually bring organic traffic. In the second half of this, I'm actually going to walk through that process. So if it's not making sense right now, you can leave a question if you want, but by the end of this, you're going to see how it actually all kind of falls into place. The main thing that every marketer that's creating content, everyone that's trying to build organic traffic, one of the main things that you need to understand is that every search asks a question. Every search asks a question, no matter, even if someone just puts in tennis shoes, there is a question in their mind that they want answered, right? It could be, I want to buy tennis shoes, so where can I buy this certain style? It could be, I want to know what's the right fit for me. There's a question behind every single search. So you have to know the search intent if you want to make value from these keywords. So it's not just knowing what the keyword is. You have to understand why someone is using that keyword in order to extract value from your keyword research. So the search intent, black tennis shoes for women. What's the search intent there? I would normally ask this, but there is a delay, so I'm not going to sit around and wait for someone to ask the question. There's quite a bit of delay between what I say and what shows up on YouTube. I think it's like 20-30 seconds. But what's the search intent for black tennis shoes for women? Well, it's probably shopping, right? Because they want to find black tennis shoes for women. More than likely, they're wanting to buy. Some people might be in information gathering. There's always outliers, but I would say, by and large, someone searching for this term is searching for with a shopping mindset. Whereas someone looking for best walking tennis shoes for women, they're in information gathering, right? They're wanting to know what are the options. They're not looking to buy at the moment. Now, they might buy as soon as you show them an option that they like, they might be ready to buy, and so they might be in the buying mode right now. But as far as this search goes, they're looking for information. They're not necessarily looking for to buy right now. So if I know the intent of the search, I know how to handle the traffic coming from that keyword, if that makes sense. And it all comes down to that you answer the question not that the things that you want to talk about because of that keyword, but you ask the question that the user intends to get answered, the search intent. You address that and you earn their attention. Now, what you do after you earn their attention is a huge discussion. We're actually going to be talking about that next week, but right now we're just talking about how do we frame our message in a way that attracts their attention. And if I address their question and I address their search intent, it earns me their attention, and then I can take that attention and apply marketing to it. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. So let's talk about the keyword research process. And I'm actually going to do something here. I am going to switch between screens. Let's see how this works. All right. You can't see the whole thing. So let me reduce this here so hopefully you can see it. All right, we got that fixed. So let's go back. The very first thing that we want to do is we want to find root keywords. If we're just starting out, we need to identify the root keywords that rule our space, right? So we're going to use the same kind of we're going to use the same example, tennis shoes, and we're going to talk about finding root keywords. And I'm just going to show you here an example with this spreadsheet here. Let me move this up so you can see what I'm doing here. I usually start out with 3 columns here, or 3 sheets. The very first one is just root keywords. So I want to find all of the valuable root keywords that I can around my business. And I do this through a tool like SEMrush. So if my business is tennis shoes, then I can just search that root keyword, right? Or if my business is shoes, I know tennis shoes is going to be one of my long tails. So I can just search for that, come down here and click, this is the phrase, so it's going to match tennis shoes. I'm just going to click show full report or view full report, and it's going to pull this up, and I got to delete some of these. And up here I've got broad match, phrase match, exact match, related. I want phrase match because I want tennis shoes to be in there. I might even just go with exact match, but I want to find all of the root keywords that I can work off of. So here we've got tennis shoes. Of course, that's a root keyword. It's got a volume 90,000 searches a month, but the difficulty is very high. So keyword difficulty on SEMrush, if you're using that, keyword difficulty is basically a score from 0 to 100, and the higher it goes in that range, the harder it is to rank organically for that keyword. This is not paid competition. This is organic competition, right? So ranking for tennis shoes is in the mid 80s. That's a very, very, very difficult keyword to rank for. I try to actually, when I find a keyword that has okay volume, 100 or so on this, a root keyword or a long tail, if I can find competition in the 40s and 50s, I'm very, very, very happy, because it doesn't take a lot of muscle to rank for those. If I get in the 60s and 70s, that's kind of medium competition. I'm not super excited about it, but I know over time that I can probably rank for it. If it gets up into the high 70s, 80s, and 90s, it's going to be very hard to rank for. Sometimes in certain situations, even though a keyword is very high in competition, I'll still try to optimize some content around it. Not because I think I'm ever going to rank for it, but because it might just be very germane and valuable for my audience. So even though they might not find it with that root keyword, there's possibilities they'll find it with long tails that I haven't thought of. So there's all kinds of variables that go in. But let's just talk about step number one, which is to find the root keywords. So basically what I do here, all of these are going to be valuable. You look down, we're still in the 5,400. Now, one thing about the root keyword, the keyword research things like SEMrush, is that they're kind of ballparking the amount, and they're ballparking the amount for kind of the exact match term. But there's all kinds of long tails for every single one of these that we haven't thought of or we haven't brainstormed yet. So even though it says 4,400 for this one, the reality is that it's probably, if you rank number one for this root keyword, you've probably got a whole lot more than 4,400 coming to your website through that keyword. So again, it's not exact numbers. They're probably a lot higher than this, but we're just going to use this list as an example. And because it says, there's 47,000 keywords, I'm going to select all of these. And just for the sake, sometimes I do all of them, but I'm just going to go through the first couple pages because then we get down to about 1,000. And I'm just going to do that. Now, what I want to do is export. And I'm going to take the selected ones because I don't want to do 47,000 right now. And I export to CSV. Now, you're not going to be able to see this happen, but I'm going to open up that CSV on my computer here. Okay, let's see. Where is it? I guess it downloaded. All right, normally that downloads right away. I'm confused. Something's up here. There we go. Failed server problem. Well, that's never happened before. All right, well, we're just going to have to call an audible here. Normally, I would just export this. SEMrush is having difficulties today, apparently. I would export this list and open it up into Google Excel. And then I would, something failed server problem. Well, that's never happened before. Well, that's what you get when you go live, I guess. But normally I would export this and then I can just kind of copy and paste over into my spreadsheet here. But just for this, oh, great, it worked. So I'm going to open this here into Excel. It's going to do it on my other screen, so you're not going to see this happen. But at least, hopefully, this works. So I copy and paste from thing. Okay, so hopefully you can see this now. Let me get Excel out of the way. So here we have all of my root keywords. Well, that took a lot longer than I was hoping for. We got the keyword, we got the volume, and we've got the keyword difficulty, which leads us now into step number 2, which we want to prioritize the root keywords, the ones that we think are going to work best for us. So we come over here, and tennis shoes, probably not. High keyword difficulty there. High competition. Maybe if I come down here, here's one, and the competition for the root keyword is 75. Best tennis shoes, we're going to basically just highlight this somehow. Oh, that's text. Highlight that one. Come down here, platform tennis shoes, Puma tennis shoes. We'll just pick this one, for example. But sometimes when you're going through here, all of these obviously are going to, well, here's one that that's might not be in my wheelhouse. Maybe it is. But basically, I want to go through and I want to pick the ones that I think are most important to my business. Now, unless you're in e-commerce, right here, e-commerce, with this kind of keyword research, all of these are going to be obviously germane to my business if I'm selling shoes, tennis shoes. But when you're in, like, let's just say, some kind of SaaS software, your productivity software, and you do a search for, how to be productive or productivity tips or something like that, you're going to find there's a bunch that really don't matter or is not relevant. You can skip those over, but you'll find some like productivity tips, and you'll say, hey, that's a really valuable keyword. I'm going to use that one. So you go through and you just basically prioritize using your gut the ones that you think are best fit for your business, the ones that are most important to your business, with the search intent in mind, and you prioritize them. You can have as many as you want. You just want to make sure we're culling out the ones that we don't want to worry about right now. And then we go into step 3, which is to find the long tails. And this is really where kind of the secret sauce happens, is finding the long tails. And again, you can have a prefix, you can have a suffix, and it goes back to this. So now I have all of these that I like. I'm going to copy all of them. I'm going to come into the long tail side. I'm going to paste the root keyword there. And now I know, after I get them all down there, let's just say that I've done, several. Once I get them all here, now I need to go out and I need to find long tails. More than likely, I'm going to do these one at a time. But let's just say girls' tennis shoes. Basically, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to let Google tell me what's being searched around this keyword term. So I'm just going to go over here to google.com and I'm going to search for girls' tennis shoes. Well, why did it come up there? Girls. I guess it's just going to make me do that up there. All right. Basically, this is tennis shoes. This is Google Suggest up here. Move this down a little bit more. Google suggests all the different types of long tails around this. And again, you can have, on the front, you can have it on the back, like front, best girl tennis shoes. You can see best toddler girl tennis shoes, best little girl tennis shoes. Let's just take best toddler girl tennis shoes. It's going to put it there. And if you come down to the bottom, there'll be other long tails that you might be able to find there. Best shoes for toddlers to put on themselves. That's a pretty good long tail. Then you just come back to the spreadsheet. Oh, not that one. You come back to the spreadsheet and you would enter in the long tail there. Then I go back and just see, okay, go back to, keep closing up my thing there. Go back here and we're going to start with girl tennis shoes 4. All right, that. Okay, here's baby girl tennis shoes, toddler girl tennis shoes we just had, Madden girl tennis shoes. Don't know what that is. But you basically come through and you find all the long tails here. And then we'll go on for, we'll come down here now and try Under Armour tennis shoes. Go back, same thing, Under Armour tennis shoes. Here's where it gets interesting. Men's, Amazon, women's, for sale, reviews, Near Me, black, white, Kohl's, eBay. Let's try white. Let's see if it adds any more to there. Under Armour tennis shoes, white. Under Armour running shoes, white. Under Armour women's white tennis shoes. There you go. That's a good long tail. And you see it just keeps blowing out these suggestions. All of these are great long tails, but you want to notice, because of Google Suggest, sometimes it suggests things that are not the exact keyword. Like this would be women's walking shoes. We're now no longer under tennis shoes. So what I try to do is only go with the ones that are related to the root keyword. Under Armour tennis shoes. Men's Under Armour tennis shoes, men's Andy Murray. That's a long tail. Under Armour tennis shoes on sale. Under Armour men's wide tennis shoes. You can see you can start finding these long tails. And what I do in this is I just blow out for every root keyword. I get as many long tail ideas as I can, because I'll never rank for Under Armour tennis shoes. Amazon probably has that one locked down. Walmart has that one locked down. But I can find all of these other kind of offshoots that I can rank for, right? So I want to find as many long tails as possible. If you want to take this a step further, you can take you can take the long tail that you found here, like Madden Girl tennis shoes. You can come back into SEMrush and you can search for that and just see, is there any volume around that? Nothing found. Phrase match. Madden Girls tennis shoes, $390 a month. The keyword difficulty is still very, very high, but maybe you have this down here where the volume is lower. Again, it's if you rank #1 for this term, you'll get a lot more than 10 a month. But Madden Girl tennis shoes, Bailey, Steve Madden Girl tennis shoes, they have measurable volume, but there's no competition. So Steve Madden Girls tennis shoes, Steve Madden Girl girl tennis shoes instead of girls. But you can take that and say, well, that's the one that I want to go for then. I'm going to come back over here and paste it there. We're still working on that one. And that's the one that I want to work for. Okay, so that's a long tail. Step number 4 is to prioritize your long tail. So once you get all of that built out, then what you want to do is you want to come through and say, that one is okay, we'll save it for later, save it for later. This one is really good, so, you know, we want to do it now, basically. And you prioritize all the way down again. And then the next step after that is to plan your content around each long tail. And this is where you really get the compounding effect of SEO. So you plan content around every single long tail. I hope you guys have been able to see that. I haven't been zooming in. I'll zoom in just a second so you can see the whole thing. But you want to prioritize your content around every single long tail. So if you jump back into this, what you're going to see now is that I have my root keywords. I've got, you know, that they're valuable, like platform tennis shoes, best tennis shoes, girl tennis shoes, and I've blown all of them out with their long tails, and then I've prioritized the long tails based on either my opinion that this one, you know, when I search for this on Google, I can see that, oh, you know, Amazon's not ranking #1. I honestly don't know who's ranking #1. Steve Madden, of course, is ranking #1, #2, #3, #4, #5, and then Amazon. So you might actually search for that one and be like, I can't win for that one. But anyway, you'll prioritize based on the ones that you think that you can rank for. And then what you want to do is you want to take this and you want to go over into the content planner. So you'll take your root keyword, your long tail, you'll come over into the content planner phase, and then I just paste them in there. And now I need to come up with a title for a piece of content around that. So Steve Madden Girl tennis shoes is the keyword. So I know it needs to go into the title somewhere. So this is back where we stop and we talk about SEO for a minute. I don't remember if we talked about this last week, but I'm going to talk about it now. If you've ever heard Marcus Sheridan give his speeches at Inbound or whatever, he's kind of narrowed down most of our searches into 5 basic categories. He calls them the big 5. We use the big 5 a lot in our content because we have found that it delivers the most bang for our buck, and we can really narrow in on the search intent. We can really narrow in on the keyword that we want to rank for, and we don't have to create insanely like meandering pieces of content. We can focus what we're trying to do. We're trying to address the question. Every search on Google has a question behind it, and if you want to rank for that term, you're going to have to address that question, the intent of that question, in whatever page ranks, or you won't rank long term. Right? You might rank for a little bit, but then you'll get replaced somewhere down the line. So every search has a question, every question has an intent behind it, and every page that you create trying to rank for that term has to address that question and address the intent and give value in that place, and that's it. That's the focus. One of the mistakes that a lot of people make when they're creating content, especially when they're creating content trying to rank for a term, is they'll start writing, you know, the 10 best running shoes for running in the rain. That's a weird example, but you know, we're talking about tennis shoes that are running in the rain. And they'll start into the content, they'll start writing the article or making the video, and suddenly they're talking about you know, the traction of the shoe on asphalt versus grass, and they start talking. They go into this. It's relevant, but it's an offshoot. We're talking about traction, and when you're on grass, you need to run this way, or you might slip and fall. And if you're on the asphalt, you need to watch out for this, or you might slip and fall. And you need this kind of grip on your shoes. While that's relevant, they are looking for the best shoes for running in the rain. Period. They don't care about running techniques. They don't care about slipping and falling. They want to know, tell me what are the best shoes. Don't tell me exactly why they're the best. They want to know which ones are the best. And when we're telling them, of course, we address the why. But what I'm saying is, a lot of times when you're creating content, you can start going off on this detour for this thing that, oh, I think they need to know this first, and then we're going to come back to this. And it ends up with really long pieces of content where you're creating this speed bump, basically, from people. They clicked on your link in the search engines to answer a question. They get here and you're telling them that you're going to answer their question, but before you get to that, we interrupt this message, to bring you this message, and you have this long thing of explanation that is coming in between them and the thing that they're after. And our attention span is it's not good enough for that, right? It's not long enough. And so we need to, when we get them into our content from the organic search results, when they come to our website, when they come to our video, we need to start addressing what they want right away. And then save the sideline discussions for their own pieces of content. Because sure enough, if someone's asking what's the best shoes for running in the rain, they're going to be asking, how do I run in the rain without falling down, or something like that. There's going to be other questions out there that are leading to other searches where you can take this thing and move it over. One of the things that I started doing early on is I write and write and write, and then I would go back and say, I've got this entire section that's kind of a sideline discussion. I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to paste it over here, and then I'm going to try to find a long tail that I can turn that piece of content into a second piece of content. And oftentimes I'll publish the second piece of content first because I want to link to it in the content about best shoes for running in the rain. So I'll go over here and I'll write the best techniques for running in the rain so you don't fall down. And I'll publish that. Then I'll come over here and I'll write the best tennis shoes. And where I was going to take the sideline discussion and take forever, I'll just say, you need to make sure that you know how to run in the rain, and link them over to that other article so that I get a contextual link. It goes over there. With that being said, going back, I just did that whole sideline discussion on that, right? Going back to the big five. When you're doing keyword research and you're trying to figure out the long tails and turn those long tails into titles, there's really 5 things that you can kind of focus on, creating content around that will address the question and the search intent of the person. The first one is best, EST articles. When we're looking for something, we want to know the cheapest, the fastest. We want to know the best. We want to know the quickest. Easiest, right? We're using these EST words. And so if you're going to create a long tail, what you'll find a lot of times, let's switch back over here. What you'll find a lot of times, Steve Madden girl tennis shoes, is that people search Google for best Steve Madden girl tennis shoes. They want to know what the best ones are, or maybe most popular, or whatever. But they're looking for the extreme. They want to know what the best is. They might not buy the best, right? They might back it off, but they want to know what the best is. That's why they're searching. And so when we're creating content, we want to create content around, it becomes a listicle, the 5 best Steve Madden girl tennis shoes, or the 5 most popular Steve Madden girl tennis shoes, something like that, where we can say, okay, here's this model, this model, this model, this model, and this model's best for that, this model's best for this model's best for that, this model's popular because of this, and the end, what is best is actually subjective, so pick the one that you want. But we address the question, we give them a list. If they're looking for the best, they want something to compare and contrast, right? So we're going back to the search intent, the question behind the search. So EST articles are really great. The fastest way to get from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. You can compare 2 different routes. You can compare going by chopper, by limousine, whatever. The second one is problems. So even though people don't like to talk about the problems with their product, every product has problems. Every service has potential problems, potential pitfalls. Uh, People are looking to that not so that they can find necessarily a reason not to buy, but just so that they can be prepared. Like one of the things that Marcus Sheridan uses as an example is, if I'm going to put a cement pool in ground, I want to know what are the problems people have with cement pools that they're putting in ground, so that I can know, okay, I need to be prepared for XYZ when I get my pool. Or, all right, I'm going to buy it, but I know now I need to buy it and do this, rather than just doing what most people do and then they have that problem. They're doing research so that they can reaffirm their purchase. So talking about the problems with, if you're in the productivity SaaS market, maybe the problems with productivity SaaS software, the shortcomings of it, whatever. The third one is reviews. So a lot of people, they're afraid to talk about their competitors on their website. But if you look at, if your brand or your product is even a little bit well known, you're probably going to find people searching you versus a competitor, or your competitor reviews or whatever. If you write your reviews on your site, you kind of own the conversation, and you can frame it around how you want. If you don't want to talk about reviews on your website, you're going to leave it up to Google or to YouTube, to Yelp or Google reviews or Facebook reviews, where people can come on and just trash you because, they're a troll, maybe, and you can't control that conversation. You can reply, but then everybody that sees the reply, they see an unhappy customer, they see a reply from the business, and you have to be very, very tactful, and most people will take it with a grain of salt anyway. Oh, they're just saying this because this customer's angry. They're trying to save face because there's a public review. And so people kind of lean towards the angry customer and being on their side most of the time. And so if you can bring the review discussion, someone's looking for, reviews of Steve Madden girl tennis shoes. If you want to leave it at Yelp, you don't control the conversation. If you're Steve Madden and you want to bring that conversation to you, you would say the top, positive and negative reviews for Steve Madden girl tennis shoes. Maybe that's a piece of content that you create. And you talk about the good ones and why they're good. You talk about the bad ones, what happened, why they're bad. But you can frame the discussion around. So you got EST, the best. You've got problems, you got reviews. The other one is comparison, this versus that. In-ground pools versus above-ground pools. Tennis shoes versus running shoes, right? Steve Madden versus Adidas. You got these comparisons where people are comparing this versus that. You create content around that. And the last one is cost and price. How much does Steve Madden girl tennis shoes cost, right? Matter of fact, let's just look at this real quick. Let's see here. How much does Steve Madden girl tennis shoes cost? See if there's any suggestions down here. Oh, nope. Steve Madden. Oh, it's Steven. Nope, no suggestions. But anyway, cost is another big long tail. So when you're going back to this and you're thinking, okay, how am I going to create content around this? The content that I want to create, maybe I say the X best Steve Madden girl tennis shoes for summer. And it's great if this is actually a long tail, Steve Madden girl tennis shoes for summer, or tennis shoes for summer, or girl tennis shoes for summer. But you try to mix in as many of the long tails into one title as you can with still getting them exact match. Hope that makes sense. So you take all of the root keywords, you expand them out into long tails, because tennis shoes is going to be used 400 million different ways. You expand every root keyword into as many long tails that you can find, using Google Suggest, Uber Suggest. You can even use SEMrush. Sometimes SEMrush will have long tails that you can find. But you find as many as you possibly can. And once you do that, you turn each of those long tails into a title. Then we go back here. When you really want to dominate through content and you've done your keyword research, then you have the way that you dominate is you go everywhere, right? And so one of the things that a lot of people do is they create content on their website with like a blog. They create content with a blog post, and then they kind of leave it at that. And I've done that in the past. You can do that. You can build insane organic traffic just doing that. But YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. If you're not creating content for YouTube, all of your blog content is only showing up on number one search engine, but the number two search engine has none of it there. So one of the things that you should do is find a way to every piece of content that you create to put it on both platforms, both YouTube and your blog. And you can do this. You can do this either way, right? You can create the blog post, which is what I normally do, and then you create a video based on that blog post. Or you can create a video. There's a marketer guru speaks around named Ping Jun. He creates a bunch of videos, and then he transcribes all the videos using rev.com. And then he takes those transcriptions and formats them, edits them into blog posts. So he starts with a video, publishes it to YouTube, then writes a blog post about it, and then you can start spitting those off. So if you have a quote in your blog post that you really like, make an Instagram quote card out of it. Your YouTube video, you have the audio from that, you extract the audio, you make a podcast. Gary Vaynerchuk does that all the time. And from your podcast, then you can actually take the audio and just do if you look up Russell Brunson on LinkedIn, he's doing this a lot. He's taking little clips from his podcast, creating a little video of it with just an image and the audio file playing, and he publishes those to LinkedIn and Facebook. You can take the content that you created and you can do a Facebook live discussion on it. You can take clips from the Facebook live discussion and post them to LinkedIn. You can do all kinds of things from a single piece of content, and that's how you kind of dominate. But the main ones that you want to concentrate on are YouTube and Google. They are the main ones where you'll be bringing traffic to your website. And you do that through creating individual pieces of content for every long tail and addressing that question. So maybe it's the best tennis shoes for the rain. Talk about that. Maybe it's the best tennis shoes for summer. Talk about that. Maybe it's the best tennis shoes to wear in the snow. Talk about that, right? Create content addressing all of these questions. And if you do it on YouTube and Google and you use those keywords in your SEO, which we talked about last week, then you'll start ranking for those long tail terms. And over time, your traffic will just insanely increase because you're creating this snowball effect that that brings all of the traffic. So all of those long tails, and you'll start getting shorter root words and higher volume words the more that your domain authority increases, which we talked about last week. Using these keywords is the way to make sure that you do that. So now I'm going to stop talking for a little bit, and I'm going to turn it over to question and answer session. I actually went a little bit further. We have 10 minutes now to do question and answer. So if you're on YouTube, you can actually type in the question that you want answered, any kind of question that you have about keyword research. While you're doing that, while I'm waiting on questions to come in, I did kind of tease that I was going to talk about something that's different now, a shift that's happening in marketing. And if we go back and we show this slide here, what you're going to see is, we have a content plan here, content for ranking on YouTube, a content for ranking on Google, content for ranking, on podcast search engines, whatever. Everybody is doing this, or at least everybody that's worth competing is doing this. Everybody's publishing content now. Everybody's publishing YouTube videos. There's a shift because when Seth Godin came out with permission marketing years ago, he was noting the shift between interruption marketing into permission marketing, where interruption was, we interrupt this broadcast to tell you about this thing that you need to go buy. Go talk to your salesman. You go talk to the salesman, and he could tell you basically whatever he wanted you to know because he had all the information. He could tell you that, this model, has a few problems like this, but if you buy this model, all those problems are fixed. And so he moves you over to this model. You don't know if he's being honest. You didn't know if he was just getting more commission from that model, but you were kind of at the power of the salesman back in the interruption marketing era. Then you move into the permission marketing thanks to the internet, and now the consumer does all their research online, which is why we're talking about keyword research today. Whatever you're selling, whatever your business is, you're engaged in the permission marketing era
because people are going to YouTube, they're going to Google, trying to make up their mind of what they want to buy before they ever talk to a salesperson, right? I think the number is 70%. 70% of your buying decision is made before you ever get on a call with a salesperson. And all of that research is done online. And if you can jump in while someone's doing that research, you can bring them over to you. And maybe when they get to that 70 percentile and they're ready to buy or ready to talk to a salesperson, maybe you're the salesperson that they decide to talk to. It's really the whole thing about this. But back, in the early 90s, all the way up to, 5 years ago, this was kind of a novel idea that businesses could earn business by earning attention and throwing content out there. And the ones that did this and did this earliest and did it at scale, they're the ones that won, right? They're the ones that got ahead. But now everybody is doing this. Right now, you have brands like Red Bull that are just creating content. You have brands like, if you follow ClickFunnels, Russell Brunson's thing, if you follow ClickFunnels at all, they actually sponsored Studio C to do an entire sitcom for them. It was the funnel hackers, whatever, freelancers, but it was all about ClickFunnels. They wore ClickFunnels T-shirts and everything all throughout it. You have everybody creating content now. And so if you do this, it's smart, but just doing it to do it is ceasing to work, if that makes sense. And so while this is not going away, publishing all this content, it's not going away. How you publish and how you handle the attention that you get. Remember, every search asks a question and there's an intent behind the question. And if you answer and address the question and the intent, you'll earn their attention. The shift is not coming into, do we create content or not? Content is a given now. If you don't create content, you lose. Eventually, you lose. So that's not the discussion anymore. That was the discussion for the last 10 years. Are you going to create content or not? If you want to create content, you're going to win. But now everyone is creating content. So the winning doesn't come just from doing this now. The winning comes from, what do I do once I have their attention, right? And we're going to talk about this a little bit next week. Let me give you the slide for that. Where'd it go? I don't know where that slide went. But next week we're going to be talking about how do you dominate through content? How do you make your content effective? We're going to talk about that a little bit because the truth is that now everyone is creating content. So what's going to make you different? What's going to make you stand out from the crowd? Once you get the person's attention, you have to do what most people are not doing right now. And that's the shift that's coming. We're going to be talking about it a lot over the next several months because we're implementing this shift now and we're kind of on the cutting edge. And I actually believe that it's as powerful a shift from no content to everybody doing content. It's as powerful a shift from interruption marketing to permission marketing. And it's the fact that, okay, you have my attention. What are you going to do with it? And it's going to change how you write your blog posts. It's going to change how you do your videos. It's going to change how you do everything. And I'm super excited to start talking about that. But next week we're going to dabble in it a little bit next week. And if you want to come to that, let me get you the link for it again. I'm going to publish it into the YouTube room, into the YouTube chat. If I can find it. There's the link for the next one that's coming up where we're going to be talking about content and how to do content marketing domination. And again, it's not so much about you need to create content. It's a given that you need to create content. It's what you do when that content actually earns you the attention that you were after, right? So that's it. I don't see any questions coming through. Last time I got questions through email, which is fine if you want to email me after this is over. But I'm going to wait around here for a couple more minutes. And if you don't have any questions, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. While we're waiting, if you are, kind of coming up if you see your results kind of failing or whatever, we do have openings now where we're taking new clients. You can go to lean-labs.com, go all the way down to the bottom and click schedule a meeting. You can talk with us. You can talk with me about what your marketing needs are, whatever you're not suffering with, but whatever wall that you're hitting. We can jump on a call and talk about it. If you're hitting a wall growing your organic traffic, schedule a meeting with me. If you want to talk about upgrading your web experience and getting more results from your website, you can schedule a meeting with me and Kevin. But just go to lean-labs.com, scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a schedule a meeting link. Click that and schedule a talk with us, and we'll talk about your brand, your goals, what you're trying to do, and kind of the roadblocks in between that. And if we can provide value, we'll do our very best to do that on that call. And if it looks like we have a way that we can offer services for you to help you, then we'll do that. If not, we'll just try to provide as much value as we can on that call. I see no questions coming through, so I'm going to call this a day. And I'm going to, I guess, end this live stream. We'll see you on the next one. And that's next Wednesday, 12 o'clock noon Central Standard Time. And hopefully this was valuable for you. Hopefully it helped. We'll see you on the next one.